ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome aboard the N1K2-J. So today's video is going to be a double battle. First we're looking at the M1K, then I'm going to go over to the Sea Fury in the next clip. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I hope you enjoy it. Now today's battles are not going to be stellar in terms of kills, pretty much average matches across the board. But today's video is going to be focused on knowledge. One of the most dangerous tools that any pilot in War Thunder can have available to them, and what really separates newer players from experienced players, is knowledge. Understanding how your aircraft operates and understanding how the aircraft you're fighting against operate. Knowing how to use your advantages against their disadvantages, and knowing who and what order to engage targets in order to guarantee your team a victory. Now, as a general rule, I consider my knowledge of how the aircraft operate in War Thunder and how they work against one another to be pretty good. I'm not bad in that regard, just smoking the F8F as we go past here. Now, despite doing crippling damage to his aircraft in that pass, he's still alive. So I have an excess of speed on at the moment, an aircraft that has incredibly high energy retention. I just point the plane completely vertical. Now what I'm trying to do here is get that F8F to try and follow me vertically straight into the sky until he stalls. There's the stall. Complete a loop in the N1K and begin to re-dive on the target. Now the F8F is actually faster than the N1K in a dive, so providing this Bearcat keeps the throttles wide open and just runs straight away at around about a 35 to 45 degree dive angle, I will never catch him in the M1K. Even with no damage on WEP, I will not catch this guy. But I'm not really concerned with that because I'm not trying to catch him, I'm trying to push him away from altitude. My team's already done a sweep at about 20,000 feet and there are only 3 aircraft at altitude, 2 F8Fs and 1 Spitfire. This is one of those F8Fs, the other one has already been killed, and the Spitfire is currently engaging 3 separate aircraft at the same time, so it's only a matter of time before he goes down as well. So far everything's looking pretty good for the team. Except it's not. As I said earlier on in the video, this video is about knowledge, and every now and again something changes or something new gets added to War Thunder that throws what I know about the game out. And this is where I get caught out, and I want to show you a couple of examples of this. Now, one of the things that has changed recently is the amount of health, or the amount of damage, that a carrier can take before it sinks. Now at this point the F8F pilot has made it to the A-point runway, but I'm still there, so he's going to have to deal with me. I was expecting him to turn back, so I put the plane into a climb at 45. As he turned back, rolled the plane over, back into a dive, with the energy and speed advantage, pop his plane before he ever got guns on target, continue through, looking to engage a second F8F behind him. Simple enough fight. In this particular situation, that F8F pilot would have been much better served trying to make a run on the carriers. At the very least then, he would have been covered by flak from his own fire support groups, rather than having to fight me directly while he waits for his ground forces to actually take the ACAP so he can land and repair. But again, this battle looked pretty one-sided at this point, so it didn't really matter where he went. He was one of only 2 F8Fs that were remaining, and the Spitfire has still managed to survive and is actually giving a large number of my team a run for their money. But I think the fight's now up to 5 versus 1 on that Spitfire, so it's getting harder and harder for him all the way. The enemy team only actually consists of 3 aircraft remaining at this point. The F8F that I'm moving to engage now, the Spitfire at altitude, and 1 bomber. Now the enemy bomber was actually the first aircraft that I spotted in this match. I never got a red box on it, but I spotted its dot at distance, flying exactly the same south flight path that I take in my American bombers when I'm on this map to get to the carrier groups. But as there was only 1 bomber, I ignored it. It didn't really matter. 1 bomber cannot take out the entire carrier group on its own. So move to engage fighters first, let the bomber drop his bombs, he'll probably take out a couple of carriers if flak doesn't get him, and we'll deal with him last. Now I did a quick loop there to avoid the Spitfire that made a dive at me before it exited the area. Unfortunately that delayed my approach to the F8F. The F8F got guns on our J7 before I could get there. The J7 went down, but I managed to intercept the F8F in a rollover just a few seconds later, get guns on target, blow his elevators and rudders straight off his plane, into the drink he goes, and that's my second kill. So I start heading back towards the carrier group because I know the bomber is back there. Now the Spitfire is a Griffin Spitfire and he's got his throttles opened wide up. He's now the last fighter on the enemy team and he has 5 aircraft chasing him, so he is just running as hard as his plane can with the intention of trying to drag out the match for as long as possible. And there goes the first carrier in our carrier group. Now the enemy team only has 2 aircraft remaining, that Spitfire and the bomber, and of course the destruction of that first carrier reveals that the bomber is a B-29. Around 60 seconds later, the second carrier is destroyed. Now I was pretty sure at this point the B-29 has the capability of destroying 3 of the 4 carriers, so that's not a problem, and there goes the third carrier. And again, this was about 60 seconds after the first one, so he's obviously doing one long pass, and in fact at this point I can actually see his dot. I know precisely where he is on the map, closing in range to eliminate him, and that's when the 4th carrier is destroyed. Now what's happened here is Gaijin's been playing with the health numbers for the carriers, and they've created a situation at the moment where a single B-29, fully upgraded with its maximum bomb load, is actually capable of wiping out the entire Japanese carrier group on its own. And until this moment I had absolutely no idea this was a possibility. So, first place for the team, 2 kills, a bunch of awards, and a team that only lost 2 aircraft for the entire length of time that this match was running. And we lost the match to a single player in a B-29 who only bombed 4 targets for the entire match, the Japanese carrier group. And it's worth noting that on points scored in this match, he almost doubled my score simply by bombing those 4 carriers. Now, I don't actually have a problem with a single B-29 being able to do this. It's more that it caught me unawares. One thing I do have a problem with is that only America can do it, because the Japanese have absolutely no equivalent to the B-29 available in their tech tree. They will require a group of bombers between 2 and 3 in order to do what that single B-29 just did. Still, lesson learned, I now know what the B-29 is capable of on naval maps in patch 1.51, and in future I will be going out of my way to eliminate all B-29 players at the start of the match before engaging fighter groups. So that's the first match, a loss due to a change within the game that either wasn't listed on the patch notes or I just didn't spot on the patch notes, that left me unawares that I could potentially lose a match to one bomber. Now this time we're taking out the Sea Fury, and this time a new addition is what's going to cause me an issue. Now it's no secret that I have not been happy with the performance of the Sea Fury in War Thunder. This is an aircraft that was one of the most powerful piston prop fighters ever created. Based on the chassis of the Tempest II, this aircraft was designed to be lighter, faster and more manoeuvrable than the Tempest II, and succeeded in all of these goals while also becoming carrier based. It was in fact such a good aircraft that in one encounter during the Korean War, a flight of RAF Sea Furies engaged a flight of MiG-15s and shot several of them down for no losses of their own. In War Thunder, however, the Tempest II is a superior aircraft in every single way, with the Sea Fury sitting somewhere between the Tempest V and the Tempest II in terms of performance. It's still a good aircraft, but it's a Sea Fury in name only. Now we're fighting the Russians this match, and this was one of those worst case scenario matches from the beginning. The Allied team only consists of 8 aircraft, 4 of which are heavy bombers. 3 of those heavy bombers are Lancasters. In fact, the first Lancaster was just taken down by a swarm of Russian fighters that claimed to intercept it. Now these 4 heavy bombers will manage to destroy the 3 area bombing targets. However, that will be the end of their contribution to the match. They will all be eliminated before making it to the enemy runway. Now this means half our team was irrelevant to the outcome of this battle. The enemy team, however, wasn't a full team of fighters. They had 2 Yer-2 bombers. Now these Yer bombers will manage to take out all 3 of our area bombing targets. They'll also manage to take out around a quarter of our base's health before they're eliminated. Again, they don't really do much to the outcome of this battle. What this battle boiled down to was a 4-on-6 match, fighter to fighter. Now I did do what I could to try and keep our bombers alive. The first Lancaster was eliminated before I could get to it. It was hit by 4 to 5 enemy fighters simultaneously. I did try and make it to this B-17, but I just couldn't catch this LA-9 fast enough. When I did finally get to within gun range, I missed the kill, as a Spitfire LF Mark 9 had exactly the same idea as I did and was trying to save the bombers, as they were half of our team. The remaining Lancaster on the lower left hand side of my screen will manage to take out the final 2 area bombing targets before he too is eliminated by a Yak, and there was very little we could do to actually save him at this point. He is 15 kilometers away and he's on the deck. The amount of altitude we'll have to surrender in order to get over there to defend him would put our own planes at risk, and at this point we can't afford to put our planes at risk. So next target has presented itself, premium Focke-Wulf 190 D9. But of course the Allied team has a premium Focke-Wulf 190 A8 that dives in and makes short work of the D9. And I'm really hoping the irony of watching an American-flown 190 shooting down a Russian-flown 190 over the Berlin map while no German aircraft are in the air is not lost on you. So, with the Focke-Wulf 190 eliminated, I'm back to hunting for new aircraft. Now I can see a dot over against the white clouds slightly to my right, which is what I'm turning towards. However, I've got no visual on any other aircraft at altitude. So there is at least one fighter up here with me, but I think it is the last Russian fighter at altitude. The rest of them appear to be on the deck. And red marker has just come up, it's an LA7. He was actually significantly closer than I was expecting him to be, and apparently a little bit higher than I was expecting him to be as well. So open up the throttles, put it into a climb. I've got to get this thing to a higher altitude. I'll actually use a little bit of speed here, pull vertical to match altitude, bank it around and fall in on his tail. Now he has more energy than I am at the moment. He is faster because I've just come out of this climb. However, he is also 7 kilometers away and about to engage a Spitfire, so that buys me the time I need to get my airspeed back up and get myself into a good combat position. And it also gives the time for him to potentially lose a bit of altitude and lose a bit of energy, giving me a really good position to attack him if he manages to survive the Spitfire for long enough for me to get on target. Now from this point on, it is just a waiting game. He is the last aircraft at altitude that we've been able to detect. There doesn't appear to be anybody else up here. It's just a matter of who is going to get to kill him first, me or the Spitfire. Now in the background there you can see the last Lancaster, the last heavy bomber remaining on the team, making a run up the runway. He's going to get close, but the AAA is going to take him out before he gets there. Now our premium Focke-Wulf 190 A8 has just managed to locate one of the U-2s and has moved into eliminated, and that's when the LA7 actually turns into 2 LA7s right in front of me. This did actually surprise me momentarily. What was happening is the two targets were flying so close together that I could only see one dot. And when two aircraft fly very close together like this, you'll often only get a red box on one of the targets until you get within just a couple of kilometers of them. Now a Yak 9 has also popped up into this furball. He was making a shot at the Spitfire. I fireball him as I go past. The Spitfire moves on to engage the LA7. Use my airspeed to pull vertical out of the fight, get some altitude ready to dive again, and that fireball does look fatal. Yep, there it is, my first kill of the match. Now I continue to loop the Seafire aggressively here against the LA7 that is moving through the area. However, he's being engaged by multiple targets as well. Now I'm actually turning against the second LA7 here. The first LA7 has already been eliminated by the Spitfire that I rescued from the Yak. However, that second LA7 is being engaged by a P-51 at the moment. Now I really do want to get involved in that fight, but I am at a slight energy disadvantage here. However, they have gone down, so this does give me an opportunity to burst climb, roll the plane around and reinitiate a dive against the LA7. However, the P-51 pilot is good. He's right on the LA7's 6, he's got him lined right up, and there's a shot, and the LA7 is fireballed, so that is his kill. It's unlikely the LA7 is going to go out, and if it does, I doubt the P-51's going to stop shooting. Now that's where I get a quick glimpse of the missing U-2. He's just been bombing our runway. He's currently exiting the area, he's out of bombs, he has taken damage. However, the planes that were shooting at him have now returned to base. They've run out of ammunition, so he's about to get a free ride home. No he's not. Take the lead, put him straight into the cockpit on the way past, take out the pilot, and move out the other side. And that was my second kill of the match, and I'm quite happy with that so far. Pulling back for altitude, wondering where my third target is going to be. Now there is only one aircraft remaining on this team. Now this aircraft is at the bottom of the scoreboard, so you would assume it's an AFK. But it turns out it wasn't. At least he wasn't AFK when I finally located him. I imagine he was probably a late joiner. He may have been AFK for a small section of the battle, which is why his points were so low. Now the only thing that gave away this guy's location was actually a call for assistance from a B-17 that actually got hit right at the start of the match and has spent the rest of its time trying to get back to the runway to get a repair as its engines and components started failing. Now he did actually manage to land it, however the plane was too damaged to get a repair, so that B-17 is actually a dead plane. In fact it died almost 5 minutes ago. Now you're probably wondering at this point, where's the knowledge issue in this match so far? Well, it all comes down to this plane, this Yak 3. Now seeing it go past with the name Yak 3 still on top of it, I assumed this was in fact just a Yak 3. Incredibly manoeuvrable, fast enough at low altitudes, but the Sea Fury should have no problems dealing with this particular aircraft, which is why I tried to pull off this manoeuvre. Of course this particular plane isn't a regular Yak 3, it's a Yak 3 VK107 Era 4 Premium. It's a variant of the Yak 3 with a more powerful engine that makes this plane almost as fast as the Sea Fury, with equal levels of energy retention, while still being more manoeuvrable. And most importantly with what I'm about to do, it actually handles better in the vertical. Now what I was going to do here is exactly the same thing that I did in the N1K versus the F8F in the last game. Pull vertical above it until it stalls and then dive back on top of it. Of course, the VK107 actually performs better in the vertical than the Sea Fury, so he doesn't stall until after he's already got shots into me. Now, he still does stall, and I still do get guns on him and take him out. But my lack of knowledge on that particular aircraft almost cost me my plane. He could have quite easily have killed then if he had just shot a little bit better. So first place for the team with 3 kills, not a bad match overall, 67,000 credits, and again a handful of awards and titles. But more important than any of that was a new section of knowledge that I've just gained. Previous to this, I'd never actually encountered a VK107 in battle before. I'd never fought one, so I didn't know what it was capable of doing. More important than that, I had always assumed that the VK107 would show up in combat with Yak-3 VK107 as its name, displaying what the plane actually is. It actually caught me completely off guard that the Yak-3 107 would be displayed as just a Yak-3 in combat. And it actually pisses me off a little bit, because the new J2M5 Japanese Premium, the one with the 30mm, to differentiate it from the J2M5 that's available in the tree as standard, it's actually had the rising sun icon placed at the start of its name. So when you go into combat at Era 4 against the Japanese, and you see 2 J2M5s, you know immediately the one without the rising sun is the quad 20mm cannon-armed J2M5, the one with the rising sun is the one armed with twin 30mm cannons. The performance of each aircraft is completely given away by its name. And then I go and fight the Russians, and there is no naming difference between a standard Yak-3 and a Yak-3 VK107. They both carry exactly the same name, and you won't know which one you're fighting until you actually start fighting it. And even then you'll only notice which one you're fighting if you can tell the performance difference between the two aircraft. I think it's about time that Gaijin considered that what information is available on that red box, especially in relation to the name of the aircraft, giving away what performance option it actually has, what model it actually is, will actually affect gameplay and affect the outcome of the battle to those that know how to use that information. And displaying that information on some aircraft while hiding that information on other aircraft will actually affect in-game balance. Anyways, ladies and gents, I'm going to leave you off here with just a moment from one of my recent simulation battles in the A6M2 Mod 11. I was actually rather proud of this particular evasion tactic that I used. Hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.
Yeah, you got a he's on your right. About 5 o'clock. Just lining up. He's gone over the bridge. Nice. He's just gone straight, he didn't follow that. Nice manoeuvre.